So the first panel we wanted to touch on is the new trendsetters. Who sets the trends? I know as we all work in social media, as a blogger, as a company, as a brand. So really the question on everyone's mind is who do you look to look at trends, whether it's in product development, whether you're looking for a new marketing strategy, PR, who to cover an editorial, as a shopper, what to buy. So we have 3 speakers today that will give you some insight on how they do that, what they think about trend setting, and where they think trends are going to go in the next few months, years. Social media moves fast, so it can be tomorrow. So we have Kristen Burrows, seated right in the middle from Keds. We have Kate Corcoran from Women's Wear Daily, seated right to my left, and we have Catherine Everett, all the way at the end. She is a blogger for The Silhouette Girl. And I wanted to start out first, just going down the row about telling us a little bit about you and how you got to do what you do now.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Kate Corcoran. I'm the technology editor for Women's Wear Daily. It's a daily business newspaper about fashion. We've been in business for 100 years. And I'm originally from the Bay Area, and after I graduated from college, I started working for a variety of technology trade publications, as well as I was the fashion editor at the SF Weekly. So I've always covered fashion and technology, but I never covered them together until I got to Women's Wear Daily. And it's been really exciting the past few years watching the whole social media landscape unfold and the effect that it's having on fashion and the world in general. It's really exciting. I really wish that blogs had existed when I was in high school. I definitely would have had one.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kristen Burrows. I'm the president of Keds. I currently live in Westchester with my husband and 2 boys, 3 and 1. Luckily, my oldest boy is already walking around in my heels. I'm not sure what that means, but he's already into fashion. I've been in sort of the business of fashion and sport ever since college. You know, probably like most everybody in this room, when you graduate from college, you kind of go, what am I going to do? And at the time, because the economy was struggling, I actually went back to school. And at that time, figured out, really, I had always loved sports, I'd always loved fashion. Why not mix it all together and be in the business of sport and fashion? So I've spent the past 17 years at various companies, Adidas, Converse, Fila, Commuto Group, which I don't know if you guys know of that company, but they have various licenses, including the Jessica Simpson license, and then currently Keds, and just feel extremely lucky to be able to help shepherd and pioneer such a great brand that will be 100 years old in 2016. So thank you very much for inviting me to the conference, and I look forward to speaking to you.
And finally, we have Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine Everett, and I'm a blogger at Silhouette Girl. I started blogging on Chictopia. Actually, I started posting photos in November of 2008, and ever since then, I was inspired by all the members that dress very well, and I have been blogging since February of 2009 on my own blog, and I think that blogging is a great way for people who aren't necessarily in major cities such as New York or LA. I live right outside of Philadelphia in a pretty boring suburb, so I think that blogging is a great way to connect with other people who are in the same position as so yeah.
Thank you. So I wanted to start with our first question to you, actually, Kristen. It is, who are the trendsetters in your mind? And I know that Keds works very closely. They have a style gallery on their site. You also have the Keds Collective, where independent designers can design their own Keds. And I'm curious to know who you think are the trendsetters.
Well, that's a great question, and I think by the nature of definition, a trendsetter is really anybody who has the authority or credibility to communicate and create trends and influence people around them. We look at a variety of different influences to identify those trends, whether or not it's bloggers, whether or not it's other brands, whether or not it's services such as a WGSN. And it's really important for us at the same time to identify those trends that we have to put those trends through the KEDS brand lens. So, for example, what does a plaid trend mean? How does that influence KEDS? Because we have to identify that trend, take that trend, and then figure out what the brand's point of view on that trend is. Because it's very important that KEDS has a distinct and unique point of view from both the brand perspective and product perspective. The fabulous thing I think about the internet is that it's allowed trends to be identified much more quickly and communicated much more quickly, and I think by the nature of that, who is a trendsetter and who is influencing is that much broader.
Very true. And Kate, as an editor, your job is to kind of see within technology specifically, and I know you reported on Chictopia before as bloggers, and sort of last year was sort of the year of the blogger at Fashion Week, and I was curious to know who you think are trendsetters.
And also, I just want to say that I worked as a trend spotter and walked around the streets of New York City and interviewed probably about 150 people about what they were wearing and other things that they were doing at the time. I would say that we all set the trends. Since the 1960s, trends have been set by the street and by music. And before that, it was more the couturiers and the designers, and maybe a very small group of their customers. And fashion is really a global conversation. And change and exposure creates trends. So for example, an individual person could be looking around and saying, well, what is going to be next? And I'm sure everyone in this room does this. What is going to be next? What am I going to do next? What is different? What is interesting? And you think of things that are different from what you've been wearing and what you see around you now, and you start wearing them, and maybe you make them, or maybe you find them in a vintage store. And then as more and more people happen on the same thing, if it gets photographed, and those photographs go around the world, the more that people see them, the more that becomes a trend. And you see trends crossing over from the early adopters into the mainstream, like for example, with Ashton Kutcher, what was that, like 2003, when he started wearing the trucker hat, and suddenly it became like this insane fad for about 3 months, and it was completely dead.